Have you ever felt like your body was betraying you one joint at a time? Do you remember when getting out of bed didn't require a mental pep talk and 3 attempts? Are you tired of saying no to the activities that once brought you joy, all because your body won't cooperate? If you're nodding right now, you're not alone. Millions of Americans over 50 are silently fighting the same battle every single day. What if I told you that the solution to your constant pain might be hiding in your kitchen cabinet right now? What if 2 simple ingredients could help you reclaim the active life you thought was lost forever? This isn't about another expensive treatment or complicated regimen. It's about getting back to basics with something so simple, even doctors are left speechless by the results. Meet Barbara O'Neill, a 68-year-old retired school teacher from Boston whose life took an unexpected turn 3 years ago. Barbara had always been active, gardening on weekends, volunteering at the local library, and most importantly, being the grandmother who never missed a single important event in her grandchildren's lives. Until she did. I still remember that morning, Barbara recalls, her voice cracking slightly. My granddaughter Lily's wedding was just 2 days away, and I couldn't even get out of bed. The pain in my knees and hips was excruciating, unlike anything I had experienced before. She tried everything: heat packs, cold compresses, and even doubled her pain medication dosage. Nothing worked. I called my daughter in tears, telling her I might not make it to the wedding. Do you know what it feels like to tell your daughter you might miss one of the most important days in her child's life? It feels like failure. That phone call changed everything. Not because Barbara magically recovered in time for the wedding. She didn't, and watching the ceremony through a video call only deepened her despair. But because it led her to a conversation with an old friend that would ultimately transform her life. Martha called me after hearing I missed the wedding. We hadn't spoken in years, but she suffered from similar joint problems a decade ago. She asked me one question that changed everything. Have you ever tried mixing castor oil with baking soda? The question seemed absurd at first. How could such simple household items address what multiple doctors and prescription medications couldn't? But when you're in constant pain, even the most unusual suggestions start to sound worth trying. The reality is, chronic pain isn't just a physical sensation, it's a thief. It steals your independence, your social connections, and eventually your sense of self. According to recent studies, approximately 67% of Americans over 60 suffer from joint issues, with 43% experiencing digestive problems, and a staggering 78% dealing with some form of chronic pain. These aren't just statistics. They represent millions of individuals like Barbara, who gradually withdraw from life's simplest pleasures. Traditional treatments often come with their own set of problems. The non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, that many rely on for temporary relief can cause serious gastrointestinal issues when used long-term. Barbara knew this all too well. My doctor warned me that the medication damaging my stomach lining. I was trading one problem for another. Corticosteroids offered temporary relief but came with concerning side effects like weakened immune function and bone density loss, particularly alarming for someone Barbara's age, already concerned about osteoporosis. And let's not forget the financial burden. My prescription costs were over $300 per month, even with insurance. It felt like I was paying a premium just to function at the most basic level. Beyond the physical limitations and financial strain, chronic pain creates an invisible barrier between sufferers and their loved ones. Barbara stopped accepting dinner invitations. She missed her grandson's baseball games. She declined weekend trips with her retired friends. I became known as the one who always cancels. Eventually, people stop asking, and you stop being included. The isolation only compounds the problem. Research shows that social isolation accelerates physical decline in older adults, creating a vicious cycle that's difficult to break. There were days I wouldn't speak to another human being, Barbara admits. Just me and my pain, locked in a silent house, watching life happen through my living room window. This was Barbara's reality, until that phone call with Martha introduced her to an unlikely solution that would gradually return her to the life she thought was lost forever. The science behind castor oil and baking soda might surprise you. Castor oil isn't just an old-fashioned remedy your grandmother swore by. It contains ricinoleic acid, a unique fatty acid with powerful anti-inflammatory properties. According to a study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, ricinoleic acid targets inflammation pathways in a manner similar to capsaicin, but without the burning sensation. It penetrates deep into tissue, potentially offering relief where other topical treatments fail. Baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, works through a different mechanism. Research published in the Journal of Immunology suggests that it helps create an anti-inflammatory environment in the body by influencing the activity of inflammatory cells. It essentially signals them to calm down rather than escalate the inflammatory response. Furthermore, it helps balance pH levels, potentially addressing the increased acidity associated with inflammation and aging. When you combine these two ingredients, explains Dr. Eleanor Reynolds, an integrative medicine specialist who later consulted with Barbara, you're creating a synergistic effect that addresses inflammation from multiple angles. The castor oil delivers the anti-inflammatory compounds deep into the tissues, while the baking soda creates a more favorable environment for healing. Creating this powerful mixture is surprisingly simple. Barbara follows this exact formula. I mix 3 tablespoons of cold-pressed hexane-free castor oil with 1 tablespoon of aluminum-free baking soda. The consistency should be like a slightly gritty paste. I store it in a glass jar away from direct sunlight, and it lasts about a week before I make a fresh batch. Dr. Reynolds elaborates on why this particular combination works so effectively. Traditional medicine often looks at single compounds and their isolated effects, but natural remedies like this work through multiple pathways simultaneously. The ricinoleic acid in castor oil not only reduces inflammation, but also improves blood circulation to the affected area, enhancing the body's natural healing response. Meanwhile, baking soda helps neutralize the acidic environment often found in inflamed tissues. This multifaceted approach is why some patients see results when more targeted pharmaceutical interventions have fallen short. It's also worth noting that the quality of ingredients matters significantly. Not all castor oil is created equal, Barbara emphasizes. After some research, I discovered that cold-pressed oil retains more of the beneficial compounds that can be destroyed in high-heat extraction processes. And avoiding hexane, a chemical solvent used in some oil processing, means you're not introducing potentially harmful substances into your remedy. The same goes for choosing aluminum-free baking soda. You want the purest form of these simple ingredients. The application can vary depending on your specific needs. For joint pain, Barbara applies the mixture directly to the affected areas, covering it with a warm compress for 30 to 60 minutes. I do this every evening before bed, and the relief lasts well into the next day. For digestive issues, a much smaller amount, about 1/4 teaspoon of the mixture, can be consumed with warm water on an empty stomach. Always start with the external application first, Barbara advises, and consult with your doctor before ingesting any new remedy, especially if you're on medication. Barbara's journey wasn't an overnight success story. The first week was challenging, with minimal improvement. I almost gave up, she admits, but Martha had warned me it might take time, so I persisted. By the second week, she noticed subtle changes. The morning stiffness didn't last quite as long, and she could move with slightly less discomfort. The key was consistency and patience, Barbara emphasizes, and finding the right balance for my body. I discovered that applying the mixture right after a warm shower when my pores were open significantly improved absorption and effectiveness. To maximize results, Barbara also made complementary lifestyle adjustments. She gradually incorporated anti-inflammatory foods into her diet, focusing on omega-3 rich fish, colorful berries, and leafy greens, while reducing refined sugars and processed foods. "I'm not perfect with my diet," she laughs, I still enjoy my occasional slice of apple pie, but making these changes about 80% of the time seemed to enhance the effects of the castor oil and baking soda treatment. She also added gentle movement to her routine. Nothing strenuous at first, just 5 minutes of seated stretches in the morning. As my mobility improved, I graduated to short walks around the block and eventually to my current routine of 30-minute walks and water aerobics twice weekly. Barbara discovered that timing matters too. I noticed the castor oil and baking soda mixture worked better when I applied it about an hour before any physical activity. It seemed to prime my joints, making movement easier and preventing the post-activity inflammation I'd grown accustomed to. This observation aligns with research suggesting that preventative anti-inflammatory approaches are often more effective than trying to address inflammation after it's fully developed. Consistency proved to be another crucial factor. The days I skipped my application even just once, I could feel the difference the next morning, Barbara notes. Our bodies respond to routine, especially as we age. Establishing a consistent pattern signals to your system that this is the new normal. She developed a simple evening ritual that made the treatment feel less like a medical intervention and more like self-care. I dim the lights, put on some soft music, and take my time with the application. It's become a peaceful transition into my evening, almost meditative. The psychological benefits of this ritual shouldn't be underestimated. When managing chronic conditions, feeling empowered rather than victimized by your body creates a profound shift. Taking active steps, even small ones, toward your own healing changes your relationship with pain, Barbara observes. Instead of pain controlling my schedule and decisions, I began to feel like I was regaining some authority over my body. Barbara isn't the only one who has discovered the benefits of this simple remedy. Her neighbor Tom, a 72-year-old retired high school math teacher with rheumatoid arthritis, was initially skeptical when Barbara shared her experience. Tom is the epitome of show me the evidence, Barbara smiles. He questioned everything, from the scientific mechanism to the specific brand of castor oil I used. Despite his skepticism, Tom's desperation outweighed his doubts. Years of conventional treatments had left him with limited relief and increasing medication side effects. His hands were so swollen and painful that he had given up woodworking, his lifelong passion, Barbara explains. When a mathematician can't hold a pencil comfortably, you know something has to change. Tom's story is particularly poignant because his condition had robbed him of more than just physical comfort. It had taken away his creative outlet and connection to his family legacy. Tom learned woodworking from his father, who learned it from his father before him, Barbara shares. Each piece he created carried this history, this generational knowledge. When arthritis took that away, he lost part of his identity, not just the use of his hands. This loss of identity is a common but often unaddressed aspect of chronic conditions in older adults. A 2022 study from the National Institute on Aging found that seniors who are forced to abandon meaningful activities due to physical limitations show significantly higher rates of depression and cognitive decline compared to those who maintain their core interests, even in modified forms. Tom told me he'd stopped going into his workshop entirely, Barbara recalls. He couldn't bear to see his tools gathering dust. His workshop had always been his sanctuary, the place he went to think, to process, to create. Without it, he felt adrift, purposeless. His wife said he would sit for hours just staring at the television, not even following what was on the screen. Tom's methodical approach to testing the remedy reflected his analytical mind. He documented his pain levels before starting, photographed his joints weekly to track visible inflammation, and kept detailed notes on his mobility. After 3 months, the evidence was undeniable, even to a skeptic like Tom. The most telling moment, Barbara recalls, was when Tom showed up at my door holding a beautifully crafted wooden jewelry box. He had made it for his granddaughter's birthday, the first project he had completed in nearly 2 years. There were tears in his eyes when he said, "I thought these hands would never create anything again." 6 months after beginning her castor oil and baking soda regimen, Barbara experienced a watershed moment of her own. Her daughter had planned a family camping weekend at a nearby state park. In previous years, Barbara would have declined immediately, knowing the physical demands would be too great. This time she hesitated only briefly before saying yes. That weekend changed how I saw myself, Barbara says, emotion evident in her voice. I wasn't just observing from the sidelines anymore. I helped set up tents. I walked the nature trails with my grandchildren. I even sat on the ground for the campfire and got back up without assistance. These are small victories for most people, but they represented a profound reclamation of my identity. The physical improvements were measurable. Barbara estimates her pain levels decreased by approximately 80%. I still have occasional flare-ups, especially during extreme weather changes, but they're manageable and short-lived. Her sleep quality improved dramatically, allowing her body to heal more effectively. When you're not waking up every 2 hours from pain, your entire system functions better. Perhaps most surprising was her doctor's reaction at her next checkup. Dr. Patterson had been treating my joint issues for years, and he was visibly shocked when he examined me. The inflammation markers in my blood work had decreased significantly, and the physical examination showed markedly improved range of motion. While initially skeptical, Dr. Patterson acknowledged the positive changes. He told me, "I don't fully understand the mechanism, but I can't argue with results. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." He even asked for details to share with other patients facing similar challenges. It's important to note that Dr. Patterson emphasized this approach as complementary rather than replacement therapy. He was clear that I should continue monitoring my condition and maintaining regular checkups. This isn't about rejecting conventional medicine, it's about finding what works best for each individual. The physical improvements were just the beginning. The most profound changes in Barbara's life were psychological and social. When you live with chronic pain, you develop a smaller version of yourself, she reflects. You stop planning for the future. You hesitate before accepting invitations. You mentally map out escape routes and excuses before entering any social situation. As her pain diminished, Barbara's confidence grew. She rejoined her book club. She volunteered again at the library. She organized a weekly coffee meetup for seniors in her neighborhood. The most precious moment was when my youngest grandson asked if we could play hide and seek, and my immediate thought wasn't, "I can't." It was, "Where shall I hide?" This restoration of spontaneity and joy doesn't show up in medical tests, but it fundamentally transforms quality of life. Pain doesn't just hurt physically, it creates a constant background anxiety, an anticipation of suffering that colors everything, Barbara explains. When that cloud lifts, you rediscover aspects of your personality you thought were lost. The beauty of Barbara's solution lies in its simplicity, accessibility, and low cost. Unlike many treatments that promise miracle results at premium prices, this approach requires ingredients that cost less than $15 combined and last for several weeks. There's no complicated equipment, no prescription required, and no insurance battles to fight. The method is straightforward, but Barbara emphasizes the importance of quality ingredients and consistent application. This isn't a one-time quick fix, she cautions. It's a practice, a commitment to your well-being that becomes part of your routine. For those inspired to try this approach, Barbara offers a simple getting started checklist. First, source high-quality ingredients. Look for cold-pressed, hexane-free castor oil and aluminum-free baking soda. The purity of your ingredients directly impacts their effectiveness. Second, start with a 3-week commitment. The first week may show minimal results, but consistency is key. Apply externally every evening using a warm compress to enhance absorption. Third, monitor your body's response. Keep a simple journal noting pain levels, mobility, and any changes you observe. This helps identify patterns and optimal application times. Fourth, introduce complementary practices gradually. Add anti-inflammatory foods, gentle movement, and adequate hydration to support your body's healing process. Finally, know when to consult your doctor. If you're on medication, discuss potential interactions before beginning. If you experience any unusual reactions, discontinue use and seek medical advice. What I want people to understand, Barbara says with earnest intensity, is that accepting pain as an inevitable part of aging is a surrender we don't have to make. Yes, our bodies change. Yes, we face challenges our younger selves didn't. But giving up the activities and connections that make life meaningful isn't the only option. The simplicity of this solution may seem anticlimactic in a world that expects high-tech, cutting-edge answers to health challenges. But sometimes the most effective approaches are the ones that have been available all along, hiding in plain sight in our kitchen cabinets and grandmother's wisdom. If Barbara's story resonates with you, consider sharing this information with someone who might benefit. The greatest gift I received wasn't just the remedy itself, Barbara reflects, but the fact that someone cared enough to share it with me when I needed it most. We'd love to hear about your experiences if you try this approach. Every body is different, and sharing your journey might provide valuable insights for others facing similar challenges. The collective wisdom of community often reveals patterns and refinements that formal research misses. Barbara's final message is one of possibility rather than promise. I'm not claiming this is a miracle cure for everyone. What I know is that it gave me back my life when nothing else worked. Sometimes hope comes from unexpected places, and it's never too late to try a new path when the old one isn't leading where you want to go. Remember, the journey to wellness isn't a straight line. There will be setbacks and breakthroughs, moments of doubt and moments of celebration. The most important thing is to keep moving forward, one small step at a time, toward the active, engaged life you deserve, regardless of your age or current limitations.